Hey, this is Marcus Gustafsson from aetest.com and welcome to the third part of this tutorial. In this part we're going to build the scene, adding the camera and animating the camera. So let's begin. So this is the scene we got so far.
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now
So that's our scene. So I'm going to use the camera tools to navigate through the different compositions. So zoom in. Goes a bit too slow, so I'm going to choose half resolution. And zoom in. By the way, I'm pressing the C key to toggle between different camera tools. So we want to place the shapeless like water composition above the cup composition. And there. Because our camera is going to zoom into shapeless and then go down to the cup. Let's go to our Be Formless and Mind composition. Extend those a bit. And we want these three compositions to be directly beneath the shapeless composition. So we're going to move these up just to see that they are directly on top and move them down. Now we know that if the camera goes upwards, the camera will go to shapeless. There. Let's go to our teapot composition. Choose the camera orbit tool. And there. And we want to place the now water can flow above the teapot composition. We extend the teapot composition a bit, as well as the layers. And they're a bit too small right now, so I'm going to scale them up to 100%. And there, so the camera moves upwards, it will go to our now water can flow composition. And we want to have the working crash text beneath now water can flow. So extend those layers. Move in beneath. Scale them up. There. Just going to position the text. And we want our Be Water, my friend, composition to be above the organ crash composition. Let's choose that, and it's a bit too small, so we need to scale that up as well. And there, we are done with the building of the scene. So now we're going to add the camera. So let's change the view to active camera and get back to beginning. and choose layer, new camera, 35mm, alright, and choose a new null object. Going to use that as a camera controller. And parent the camera to the camera controller. And let's position the camera so it has focus on the mind illustration. Set the keyframe. Move forward. So when the empty comes, we want to push the mind illustration to the left. And when the word mind comes up, we want to remove the brain so it moves upwards. So first of all, we need to make this composition bigger. Set the height to 3000. Move the illustrations down. And we need to move our composition up. And there. Set a keyframe for the mind. And we want to sync the animation to the sound. So around there. So let's move the mind up. Around there. Move the camera up and center the brain. And move the formulas. Up with the brain. Need to scale this text up. And there. And when the text Be formless comes, we want to move the brain to the side. And there. Let's run preview.
To your mind, be formless.
There's some strange gap here. I don't know why. Our mind and the camera isn't synced up, so that should do it.
To your mind, be formless. Shape to your.
Should make that faster.
To your mind, be formless. Shape to your.
Perfect. Now we need to just cut the Be formless and the brain. Just crop those layers down when the shapeless comes. Perfect. I want to make the camera a bit more dynamic, so we're going to zoom in 75 pixels when we see the shapeless like water. We're going to position the shapeless like water composition so it's centered. So our next camera move is to go down to our cup, set a keyframe, so we go down to our cup. I think we need to go even more down. There, looks good. And there, want to zoom in as well. Around 150. Maybe too much. Let's preview.
Shapeless, like water.
It goes a bit too fast there, so I'm going to extend the keyframe a bit there.
Shapeless, like water.
Still goes a bit too fast, so I'm going to extend the keyframe to the left.
Shapeless, like water. Now you put water into
Better.
a cup. Shapeless.
I want to add easy ease to this keyframe, so I'm going to our keyframe. I'm going to right click on the keyframe and choose keyframe assistance and choose easy ease. So the camera slows down when it gets to the cup. And now we want to make the camera go to our bottle. So when the cup starts to rotate, we want to move the camera down to our bottle. Camera isn't quite synced with the animations. We're going to move the keyframes. Not quite. Let's move it to the right so we can see the text and the bottle. Zoom in. And when the bottle text comes, we want to have the bottle in the center. And let's preview.
Use the cup. You put water into a bottle, use the cup.
I think the transition between the cup and the bottle goes a bit too fast. And they're a bit out of sync.
Use the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes...
And the zoom in on it becomes the ball goes a bit too slow, so I'm going to move the keyframes together. And now we want to move the camera down to our teapot when a bottle starts to rotate. Let's move the camera down. And there, let's preview.
Bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot,
And that goes way too fast. And I see that the pouring of the water starts a bit too slow, so I'm going to move that mask. So the masking begins when the water hits the edge of the bottle. I'm going to fix this transition.
bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the bottle.
Looks good. Just going to zoom in and to make it more dynamic. And what we want to do now is move our camera upwards until we see our now water can flow. The camera moves a bit too late, so we're going to move the keyframes to the left even more. It looks good. I'm gonna add easy ease. And they're a bit too slow, the water stroke and the text, so we're going to scale them up. And the water stroke goes a bit too fast. So go on down to our water stroke layer. Press U to reveal all keyframes. So move the keyframes away from each other so the stroke goes a bit slower. I want to center the text. There. Let's preview.
Now water can flow.
And the text isn't centered, so we're going to move the text to the left. And the stroke is still going a bit too fast. Let's preview.
Use the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can use the
better. It's going to move the text a bit to the left again. And what we want to do now is add the water drop that goes from the water stroke to our splash. So add a new solid, water drop, and turn it to 3D. And we're going to use the mask tool to form the drop. I'm going to move this point upwards. I'm going to use the handles. And there. Looks like a water drop. I go into our text layer and copy its drop shadow and apply that drop shadow to the water drop. And there. Let's move the anchor point to the top. So in scales, it scales from the anchor point. So we want to animate its position. So it goes down. Let's move the camera controller above, because I always like to have my camera controller above all the layers. And let's move the camera down to our next scene. I'm going to scale this up as well. There, so we want to sync the drop position to the splash animation. Just move it to the left so it's centered. And there. Want to animate the scale. There, so it grows, then hits the floor. And there, so it's synced up with the clip, the movie clip. And let's preview.
Flow, or it can flow, or it can flow, or it can.
Looks like the scale animation on the water drop goes a bit too slow, as well as the camera. So we're going to scale that up, scale that in.
Flow, or it can flow, or it can flow.
Now we want to move the camera up to the Be Water, my friend. And scale the Be Water, my friend composition. Scale it up. And center this. Let's preview.
Flow, or it can crash. Be water.
And that camera goes way too fast.
Flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Better. So let's preview the whole animation.
To your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend, to your mind.
That looks good. And let's preview this with motion blur as well.
To your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend, to your mind.
So one thing I noticed in the preview is that we haven't animated the water drop when it hits the floor. So we're going to animate its scale. Set a keyframe for scale and move it one keyframe and set it to 0. So that's the end of my tutorial on how to make the Be Water movie. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and this has been Marcus Gustafsson from aetas.com, and thanks for listening.